Bitcoin is breaking out right now. We are potentially about to look at a much higher price of Bitcoin if this carries on, and I want to break this down for you. Actually, are we going to be able to hold this breakout, or is this going to retrace back down? Are we going to turn into a bit of a sideways consolidation range, or are we looking at a bit of a lift off right here, ladies and gents? And you know, the key thing that I really like about this chart is that the market has already pulled back. See, we set this high literally exactly where we set the high previously. This is the same double top that I was warning you guys about. I made 1 or 2 videos talking about it, and we then got a retracement. And what I really like about this retracement, right, is if we take a look at, you know, a slightly cleaner chart that I've drawn for you guys. I've actually already shown you this in my last video, so if you're subscribed, you're gonna know what I'm talking about right here. I literally just put a red line between the 618 and 66 lines and the 33 and 382 lines, and we actually fell down very nicely into these support areas. We captured support at 382, fell all the way down to 0.5, but we consolidated at the 382, which I think was absolutely phenomenal, and we are now getting ready to mount an attack upwards. And that is absolutely essential, because if we take a look at some of the things that we need to do in order to rally up, we need pullbacks, right? I mean, if we look at this rally when it started to get pretty crazy around the very end of last year, very beginning of this year, what we can see quite clearly, guys, is that the market was moving up, but then had its periods of corrections, right, where either we get a time-based correction where the price just goes sideways, or we get a price-based correction where the price goes down. And so we've had both of those within this trend, and the key thing that that does is if we get these corrections, whether that means trading sideways, or if we get these corrections that mean we trade downwards, it allows the market to then gather some strength back and mount another attack. And again, that's exactly what this pullback was. So we talk about the validity of this pump. Well, this pump is happening directly after the market has given a chance to the bears to offload some Bitcoin, where the market has given a chance to the bulls to prove that they want to buy Bitcoin at a higher low. That, you know, people are comfortable buying Bitcoin at levels that are higher than what we saw previously, showing us that that bullish intention is still very much here in this market. And that is obviously something that I like to see. Now, something else that you know, has really swayed me as well is the long and short ratio, guys. Take a look at this. You know, just actually on the 24-hour time frame right here, Binance retail shorts are taking up the majority of the market right now, and it was actually the opposite previously, right, where previously we were seeing many more longs than shorts. But right now it seems like everybody wants to short the market, especially on the retail side, and then wear a proud badge up here saying that they're shorts as well. And obviously when that kind of thing happens, we are starting to look at potentially more of a face melting rally that just kind of fucks everything off and continues to rally to the upside. And I think what's really crazy about this, and kind of just, to be honest, kind of hard to even digest in the first place, is that we could be looking at that happening fairly soon with this setup. I mean, this is just the way it is. I'm not saying this to hype you up or anything like that. It obviously is quite exciting, but you know, this is our last resistance before a very, very big price gap right here. And this is something that we've already covered, right? Bitcoin right here potentially looking at an 18% pump just to get up to that $30,000 level, which is a phenomenal trading opportunity. I mean, you know, to be able to game this kind of gap, I think it would make a lot of sense to just look at, for example, Bitcoin rises above these resistance areas. Either, you know, we're going to do one of two things. I think either we're going to rise up here, fuck around a little bit, deviate, and then come back down. And this would be a real pain if we did. I would be very pissed off if that happens, but you know what, that's something that's very typical of Bitcoin's behavior. You know, or of course we just kind of blast right through resistance. And you know, obviously I don't know which of those two we're gonna do. This is gonna depend on, you know, what you think of your, you know, and that's if we even get there, of course, but you know, what you think, what your bias is telling you for this market. You know, personally I think that yeah, we definitely have some space. I mean, you know, we've had a very bad downtrend. We definitely have some space to just rally up and bridge this gap. Again, it wouldn't be totally out of nowhere, and it also wouldn't even be, it still wouldn't be that good in my opinion in terms of recovering what's happened. I mean, yes, from our low, if we get back up to $30,000, that's effectively a plus 100% rally, right? Bitcoin has effectively doubled, and that's absolutely phenomenal. But we're still at 30k, down from 69, and the bear market's been going on for a really long time. And I think that's important to keep in mind, because I think right now, with, you know, just kind of, you know, our limited perspective, because we can't really cast our minds back very far, you know, people are starting to get a little bit excited, and I can understand why. But these are not actually crazily impressive price levels to begin with, right? If we started to see 40, 50, you know, for example, then I'd be like, you know what, maybe we're getting a little bit too high here, you know, to where this could turn into a problem. But 30, I don't think is actually that crazy, and I think given how long we've been just completely fucked, just sideways or whatever, still I think very much on the cards. And again, this is a prediction you've heard me having for a very long time since we were down here. Again, I've been very vocally saying even $40,000 since we were down at these lows, and if that doesn't appreciate you, if that doesn't earn you smashing up those likes and making sure you're subscribed, then I don't know what does. But very, very cool setup right here. And something else that's interesting to take note of is that the S&P 500 is having a bit of a bad day as well. S&P 500 actually dropping down throughout the course of today's trading session. Again, you know, not doing particularly well in my opinion, especially compared to you know, something like Bitcoin. And that's at the same time that, by the way, the dollar also broke out you know, basically over the last 24 hours and is now pulling back a little bit. So we can understand why Bitcoin's moving up right now, but you know, overall, we're not getting the same signs that typically, you know, would have an impact on Bitcoin right now. I mean, the dollar has been trending up quite clearly, basically, since Valentine's Day, really. And if you look at Bitcoin at the very same point, you know, from that point, yes, we did pump up by quite a bit, actually. Yeah, the Valentine's Day pump was huge. It was actually the day after Valentine's Day, you know, and then a bit of a pullback right here. But this is all, look at that, we've just crossed 25k there, and this is all with the background of the dollar actually kind of being fairly strong, which you just wouldn't really expect allows Bitcoin to rally up quite nicely, but it does. That's exactly what's happening, and I think that's a really big sign, a testament really to how Bitcoin is at the moment just doing what Bitcoin does, which is having absolutely huge, ridiculous rallies, just because there's not really that much liquidity in the market, you know, that's selling into this buying pressure. You know, I think that's got to be what this is. We are seeing a nice amount of volume, don't get me wrong. This is the right sign. I mean, we saw volume pulling back when the market was also pulling back, and we've seen market come back alive when the market is moving up. So these are definitely the right signs. I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing here, you know, and that's also giving me some confidence. And again, we look at, you know, potentially breaking up towards that 30k level. Well, again, you know, we've got the right signs with that in mind as well. Now, if you take a look at some of our key indicators that you already know that I like to use, support from the Ichi cloud, not quite here, but we more or less found support at the same level. 4 hour, obviously still very, very far away, but momentum wise, we actually did pretty well. You know, exactly what I was mentioning happened, you know, where the momentum actually was able to catch up to the market right here. You know, and we, on the 1 hour time frame, have enjoyed it by quite a bit. And again, all of this gets really exciting if we are actually looking at a big move within this range. Like I said, kind of 17% basically from here to here, 18%, 19%, depending on how you draw it. Still absolutely huge moves, because when you kind of put a bit of leverage behind these numbers, they start to become really impressive. And don't get me wrong, I mean, you know, it's not going to be easy to leverage this kind of range. I know it looks easy, but you know, there's a lot of room for things to go wrong. So I think it would make more sense to use a smaller leverage number. But even with something like 5x leverage, when you're at like 18% profit, 18 times 5, you're already coming up very close to a plus 100% gain, which means effectively if you're able to trade something like this, if you know, assuming it goes well, which is a very big if, on 5x leverage, this turns into potentially a plus 100% profit. This is exactly the kind of trade that I'm looking at executing, and I'm going to be sharing those details inside of VIP. But that is a huge opportunity, and I want you guys to take advantage of opportunities in these markets when you're ready to trade on OKX, because they are offering you up to 30k in rewards. Now, this is absolutely huge, where you literally just have to register an account and you get up to 10k in a mystery box, deposit $50, you get up to 10k again in a mystery box, and you can boost that up to 30k by trading on OKX. This is a phenomenal platform that's been around for a very, very long time, about 6 years actually. Great track record and excellence in this market. Definitely go ahead and check them out with this 30k reward, and you know, to be able to game something like this, I mean, you know, if you're getting like free cash, for example, Bybit offering you the same thing as well. You know, if you're getting free cash to trade these markets, you know, using the links in the description, then you know, trading something like this is effectively risk-free. You know, if you make money, then great, you get to keep it, and if you don't make money, it doesn't matter, because you're just getting free rewards. So you're not even risking your own capital here, which is obviously what makes this quite appealing. Now, the other thing that I want to highlight to you is that these opportunities that we're seeing with Bitcoin, in my opinion, they're actually much more interesting on Ethereum and other altcoins like that. And the reason for that is essentially what we're looking at with Bitcoin is entering a range where, you know, generally we just kind of go all the way up, or all the way down and then all the way back up, right? That's typically what happens throughout these ranges, especially between, say, 25k and 30k for Bitcoin, but it's the same thing between 1800 and 2500 for Ethereum. And the really cool thing about this price range is that from this resistance area up to this resistance area right here, we're looking at more like a 40% move, and that is, again, absolutely crazy, right? It's basically the same gap, right? I think it's quite fair to say that more or less if Bitcoin hits 30k, Ethereum's probably going up to 2500, because that's just where its support, where its resistance area lines up, right? I mean, Ethereum's just more volatile, and this is what makes it very attractive to trade, because if we're looking at a more volatile market, well, if we start moving up, we're probably going to see more volatility in that direction too. This is where it gets really impressive, because Ethereum is also a little bit behind Bitcoin. See, Bitcoin's already at its resistance level, basically. Bitcoin's basically already broken out while we're speaking, right? I mean, it's just, flirting with 25k, breaking above it, coming back down kind of thing. Ethereum hasn't even reached the top of its resistance, according to the way I've drawn it on this chart right here. There are many different ways to draw it. You could stretch this line way up to over here, or way down to like down here, but ultimately it hasn't reached the top of my resistance band, and so that still indicates even more upside. Again, leveraging something like this on 5 times leverage, we do the math on here, the numbers actually start getting pretty ridiculous. 190% profit. That's a 3 times gain on your capital if you're able to pull something like that off. Again, just very, very interesting trading opportunities. I mean, I'm not saying that this is necessarily something that's particularly safe to trade. Obviously, any trade setup, is going to have to, be seriously considered against your own risk appetite and so on. But for someone like me, it's definitely something that I'm keen on. And like I said, I will be taking advantage of OKX in doing those trades, so definitely check it out with the link in the description down below. Again, the very cool thing about this is it doesn't really matter how much money you have, you still stand to get up to 10k with this mystery box, up to 10k again with the next one, because you only have to deposit $50. I mean, it's super simple. Everyone's got $50 to deposit. If you don't have that, you probably shouldn't be in the markets to begin with. You should probably be getting a job instead. But obviously, that's a little bit less exciting, and I can understand why a lot of people just prefer to be traders anyway. But it's not right. You should be getting your money right before you get into the trading game. But yeah, I think nice situation on Bitcoin right now. One of the other scenarios that I'd like to see play out. I don't know if we're going to get it, obviously, because we might just end up breaking out fairly soon. But I'd like to see some sort of a sideways. Something like this would be really nice, because it means that yes, we are also kind of pulling back percentage-wise from high to low. We were down by 7%, which is a pretty good pullback. But if we also just kind of start trading sideways, not for long, I mean, just for a couple days, maybe until Monday. It is a Friday today, right? So week's trading is basically already over. I'd like to see that actually we get a bit of a bit of a pause, and then Bitcoin waits for the traditional finance markets to catch up. The fact that the dollar is doing fairly well, I mean, if you're bearish on the dollar, then now that we've had a bit of a pullback to the upside, it could be ready to trend down again, right? And I think that would also make a lot of sense for the dollar. If you're bullish on the S&P 500, well, the S&P 500 broke out, hit resistance exactly where we predicted, pulled back a little bit. It's starting to make more sense for another attack to the upside. This is the kind of very realistic ground analysis that, a lot of people just don't even do. They don't really consider that, okay, if the markets have been boring and a little bit frustrating, just kind of slowly pulling back over the last days, then that doesn't have to be a bad thing. That can actually represent some really nice big opportunities in these markets at the same time as well. So a bit of sideways for Bitcoin would be absolutely great. It would give us even more of a chance to enjoy our support indicators that we have as well, which would obviously be very helpful for Bitcoin indeed, as it continues on this journey towards that crucial, beautiful 30k mark. Like I said, I like the fact that we are seeing majority shorts on Binance right now. That is definitely reassuring as far as moving to the upside. Fear and greed index is still pretty high. It's in greedy territory still, only down by 1 point from yesterday, which was a little bit surprising. I would have thought we'd see a slightly bigger pullback, but people are just greedy right now. People are getting quite optimistic, so we have to also optimize. We have to also consider. I don't know where optimize came from. We have to also consider, just kind of where sentiment is sitting in this market right now, so that we don't get swept away in the excitement as well. So there you go. Big one for me, from me right there. If you have enjoyed this video, you know exactly what to do. Like I said, very, very exciting upside right here. So we'll wait to see if this happens. Obviously, I think you know, it looks fairly likely to happen at some point. Maybe not right now, but definitely over the next weeks. I think we've got a pretty good probability of doing something like that, and that's going to be a fun Bitcoin party for sure. So if you're excited for that, if you've enjoyed this content, you know what to do. Hit up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell as well. Very time sensitive content indeed. Take advantage of your huge offers available on OKX. And I want to remind you about Bybit. Bybit's offer is also very cool, because they're also offering you up to 30k when you head on over to the rewards hub, but this is 30k that's just a straight deposit bonus. So literally whatever you put in and whatever you trade with, you're going to be getting money back as a reward, which is a little bit different to OKX, because with OKX you don't even have to deposit that much money, right? Only $50 that earns you up to 20k in mystery boxes. With Bybit, it's, you know exactly what you're getting, but it's harder to get it. But the cool thing is, yeah, I mean, up to 30k, that's just free trading cash that you can put into the market, that you can risk, and if you make money with it, you can take that home as well, which is absolutely phenomenal. So definitely check them both out for up to 60k in rewards. Stack another 7k on top, fuck it, throw Prime XBT in there as well, so you can also trade commodities like gold, silver, and oil, in forex like Euro USD, and also indices like the S&P 500. Just absolutely huge offer right there. You get an up to 7k in bonuses with Prime XBT. Literally whatever you deposit, after you use my link in the description, whatever you deposit, 7% of that comes back as a bonus, which is again just free cash for you to trade with. So there you go. Hope you've enjoyed this one. You know what to do. I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.